Welcome to Leave Room for Milk, the podcast that's all about life, the creative journey, and a good cup of coffee. Today we have a good friend of mine, Mr. Jesse Scimeca, who's going to tell us about his life as a director, an editor, just an overall awesome filmmaker. And, you know, maybe he'll give us some tips on how we can grow our YouTube channel into the millions as he has done.
Ooh, that's a hard one.
Well, you did do it. So, anyways, man, it's good to have you on today.
Dude, it is good to be here.
As you guys should know, if you listen to our first few podcasts, me and Jesse do work together every day. And he actually interviewed me for the first podcast. And so this week I wanted to talk to him because Jesse is a very unique character.
Ooh, that was hard for you to say, huh?
No, that's very true. You are very unique. But in a good way. Jesse's an amazing filmmaker. I look up to Jesse a lot, and
that was a hard one.
That one was hard. He's done a lot of impressive things. So right now, you know, his kind of claim to fame was that he had a Spider-Man YouTube series that has how many views at this point?
The pilot episode, I think, is almost at 13 million, and I want to say the overall web series, the 5-part episode web series, I mean, it's got to be in the couple millions, and then a couple of the trailers hit the million mark. So yeah, at the time it came out, it was pretty popular.
I got you. And how long has that been?
I want to say it was a couple years ago. So it was right after Amazing Spider-Man 2 came out, and that had a lot of mixed reviews and stuff. And a buddy of mine, John Martin, and I started working on this project. And we're just kind of like, you know, let's make what the fans, or at least what we thought the fans were asking for at the time. Kind of because there's things about Amazing Spider-Man that people like. There's things that people love about the Sam Raimi ones. So we kind of tried to do a nice mix of both while also kind of telling a more darker story, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. When I watch it now, it's kind of cheesy, but at the time, it was like this darker story that had a nice mix between both of those directors' films.
And so how old were you when you started that project?
When we did the pilot, I think I was 19. And it was just going to be, originally it wasn't even a pilot. It was just a short film. I think we spent maybe like $20 on it, you know, on like some tacos after we shot.
Oh, yeah.
Gas money and stuff. And we just shot it in an alleyway. I think it was like 3 days of shooting, and then probably few weeks of just like editing and tweaking and stuff like that, and finally finished it. Did a little premiere at my house, and had everyone that was involved, you know, come over. We hung out. Everyone loved it, and then we ended up posting it on YouTube. And the first thing that kind of happened that was kind of crazy was oh man, I can't remember what they were called. Movie Pilot posted an article on the short, and we're like, whoa,
so
like that's
freaking out.
We're like freaking out. Yeah. Like, and it jumped from, I think it had maybe like 400 views, 300 views, and it started jumping. We kept watching it. We're like, oh my gosh, like the article reads were going up, the views were going up. And I think when it was all said and done, it got the video up to like 15,000, 20,000 views, and we were freaking out because the video, a few videos back, I had a video that went kind of viral. It got 20,000 views. It was like this Fallout short, and a buddy of mine posted it on Reddit, and that's what like bumped it up, you know? And so it surpassed that, and we were like freaking out. We're like, dude, this is so cool. Like, and we got a lot of comments saying like, you guys should do more of these, you know, would love to see more of this kind of Spider-Man. We kind of did something different with the Spider-Man because of the low budget. We didn't have money for a whole suit, so we just bought this $5 mask on Amazon, and then the rest of it was just a hoodie on top of the mask. And that really like spoke to a lot of people. Like, they really loved the costume. Like, I got pictures from people on Instagram saying they went to Comic-Con as our Spider-Man. That was really cool.
And you're like, it was a $5 mask and a hoodie.
I'm sure they know that because they
they
replicated the costume. But yeah, so like we kind of had like our own little Spider-Man. It was cool to see people reacting to it, liking it, you know, dressing up as a character. I got pictures sent to me of people like making their Lego character look like our Spider-Man. It was really cool, and it got me really pumped, and it made me want more. Like, I got that bug.
So let's go back.
Okay.
Let's rewind it back. We jumped on in there pretty quick, but so you're young. You're still young. You said you were 19 when you did that. How old are you now?
24.
24. And
19 when the pilot came out, and then 20 something or 21. And so actually that series came out a few years ago. I was thinking, I'm getting old.
Yeah, no, you're getting old. You're 24 years old. So, but to be 19 and already, putting, I mean, if you watch we'll link some of this in the show notes, but, to see what you were doing then, it's a really good quality, actually. And, to be as young as you were. So, like, let's go into how you started. What age were you when you started making films?
So, I picked up my first camera, I think, when I was 11. And it was an old VHS kind of camcorder camera that my parents had, and literally just filmed anything and everything. Like, nothing really had like a story. It was just like trying to get cool shots and, putting it on in the living room for everyone to see. And some of them were kind of funny. And that's kind of like how I started. And then good friends of mine, Sam and Hugh, and me started making videos together. And they were like kind of bad ripoffs of other videos we've seen that we thought were funny on YouTube, like Balloon Shop and like Owen Rogers channels like that, like even like Rocket Jump and Corridor Digital. Those were like the big channels at the time, and a lot of our content kind of replicated that. And so that's kind of how it started. We did those videos for a while, and then I started getting into the skateboarding crowd and started learning how to.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you guys before he goes into the skateboarding. We actually pulled a video here. This is some of Jesse's his early work here.
Oh yeah, that was a good time. Those were a lot of fun to do, and of course when we were making them.
So how old were you at this point?
Oh gosh, I think.
Is that you?
That's me dancing.
Oh, you were a chunk.
Yeah, dude, I was, I was, I think, 13, 14 maybe. Maybe 15. I don't know. But we just made these little, like, skits, and it was a lot of fun to do. Like I said, they were kind of rip-offs of other videos. There were some that were original. We're just like, I would literally just come over, and we'd be like, let's make a video. And we would just do it. And that's kind of how it was for the first few years of like making videos. Was just we had an idea and we just go out and do it like the next hour.
Yeah.
And then, this is obviously the product of that planning period.
I mean, it's still better than I can do. So,
I don't know about that. But yeah, so we did that, and then I got into high school, and I started skateboarding, and the skateboarding phase of my life really taught me how to actually like put an edit together. I feel like there was a lot of, with skate videos, you have to time the lens to the music.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's little cinematic pieces right before the skate part starts. And so I feel like skateboarding played a big part as far as my editing style, and kind of like helped me learn the programs I used. I mean, because for a long time I used iMovie. And so when the new Final Cut came out, everyone hated it. I loved it because, that's what I learned. iMovie is basically, or Final Cut Pro X is basically iMovie, with just some extra bells and whistles. And so I switched over to Final Cut Pro X for a long time, and then into Adobe Premiere when I kind of got out of the skateboarding scene.
But you actually skateboarded as well, right? You weren't just filming your buddies like...
That's me right there.
That's you right there.
Yeah, this was when we went to Texas for my 16th birthday.
Nice, and you ate some pizza.
Oh, wait, you got to check this out. I take this piece, man.
Oh, my God.
All in one bite.
That's not safe.
No.
But yeah, so you were actually a pretty good skateboarder, so it's cool that you had, even prior to your years of skateboarding, you already had experience in, messing with the camera and stuff, so I guess it came natural to when you and your buddy started skateboarding, you were the guy always holding the camera and filming it, right?
Yeah, that's, I think I always preferred being behind the camera, but there's, also this drive that you have when you're around other skateboarders where you just want to be as good as them, if not better. And so, like, there was this kind of constant battle of, like, do I want to be the filmmaker or do I want to be, like, a skater and get sponsored by a company or something? And I had this, this accident. Luckily I've been able to skate and not get hurt real bad. There's a couple times where I'd smack my head or land weird way and kind of twist an ankle or something. But I did this trick. It was called an early grab, where you basically are grabbing the board before you go off of this ledge or stairs or whatever, and you're using your like momentum and that lift to just go over the ledge or the gap. And I did that, but right when I landed, my front foot slipped off the board and my back foot was still on, so it made the board shoot up into my chin, and that really sucked. And I think after that happened, like I couldn't eat for a couple of weeks. My jaw was dislocated, and then also I should have gotten stitches. My dad super glued me because he's a nurse, but I still have this like scar on my chin. And that's when I kind of realized I was like, I think I'm going to stick to the filmmaking thing, because I don't want that to happen again. And, you know, obviously you see a lot of videos of skaters getting hurt real bad and sometimes never being able to walk again. And it was just, it kind of opened up that side of things as far as I didn't like getting hurt that bad. So
this is now how long you've been in the skate game and filming? A couple years? This
was probably, I released this a little bit before I quit skateboarding.
So a few years into the filmmaking process, and this is some of the editing that you learned. Yeah, I mean, this is a good video, man, for the time, the age you were, like, yeah, and I feel like so many people, man, especially in this in filmmaking, kind of like, you know, I skateboarded as well. I wasn't near as good as that.
There's a lot of skateboarders, I feel like. In the film, like people that make films.
Exactly, because I feel like a lot of people like wanted to just film themselves, and then, you know, maybe life events happened and they didn't get sponsored, didn't go pro, and so it's like, hey, well, now I've got this other skill, and it, you know. But I mean, even like this, like you said, man, you had to time a lot of things to music, and you learned, you know, fast pace,
all in iMovie.
Quick editing, and but yeah, I feel like a lot of people start that way, man. They start skateboarding, they want to film themselves, and the next thing you know, like I talk to so many people, and they say the same thing, like, yeah, I used to skateboard. Of course, I think at some level everybody used to skateboard, but
I think the other thing too that I really loved about that time of my life is not only the learning aspect of filmmaking, but also just like the life experience, like not even experience, but the stories I have now that I'm able to like tell my kids, and like I got to tell my wife. Like there was some crazy stuff that happened in that part of my life, the skating time of my life, because you get into a lot of shenanigans, and I always tell Brittany, my wife, that I don't know how I made it through that time of my life, because there really was some moments that like I probably could have died or got into a lot of trouble, and luckily that never happened. But yeah, there's a lot of cool stories that came out of that, and a lot of lessons learned, not only in filmmaking but in life. So
I got you. And so we even had a little hint to possibly a future documentary based on some of those early years. Maybe.
Yeah, there's definitely some cool stories that maybe a film could be made about, but we'll see. We'll see.
Well, so yeah, man, you did the skateboard videos, and so was Spider-Man like the first, that was really well, you said you had something that went viral kind of before that. What was that little short?
So I don't know if you remember the snowstorm in Atlanta.
Oh yeah.
A few years back.
Yeah.
So we filmed during that snowstorm just in my parents' backyard. We had some like cool gas mask stuff, and we're like, we should do like a Fallout video, like in the snow. So we did it, and it's a really short video. But basically the premise of it is you see this guy in a hazmat kind of looking thing. He's checking the radioactive levels, and these two people come up and rob him. And they're like, you know, give us all your possessions. And, you know, he does a little Fallout radar thing, hub, you know, checking to see where their weak spots are. And he's about to shoot them. And then as he's doing that, the other two guys are like, what is he doing? You know, like what? Like, because in real life he's just standing there staring at him.
Oh yeah.
And so it's just kind of a play on that. And right when he's about to reach his gun, the little kid like shoots him in the face, and they're just kind of standing there. And there's a line where he says, "Can we go to Big Town?" Which is like, there's this little kid in the game that's like constantly asking to go to Big Town. So it's just kind of a little ode to that. So I think that kind of, I mean, it's not viral, but I think it got some good attention because it had elements of the game in it, and that kid that's just super annoying that everyone like wants to like shoot, but you can't because it's a character that has to stay with you.
And what were you shooting on in the during this?
Yeah, so my dad got me a Canon T3i when I graduated high school to shoot stuff on.
Okay.
And I still use that a lot for photography, not for video as much, but I did use it for video up until, I want to say I got the Panasonic GH4 when I think it was 2015, 2016.
I got you. And you shot all of Spider-Man on the GH4, right?
Yeah. All of that was shot on the GH4. Yeah. Good little camera.
So let's Oh wait. So what is this action short here?
This was the first kind of attempt after skateboarding to make something more narrative, more film-like. And this is, back with my buddies Sam and Hugh. After that whole skateboarding phase, we were like, let's make things a little more serious, And so,
is this the T3i era?
This is the T3i, as you can see the bump in quality.
Oh yeah.
And obviously our failed attempt at color grading Bourne Supremacy style. Yeah. So basically, this is just a little. You can see a little boom mic in there. This is just a little short where I'm going and downloading something, in this dumpster-looking thing. And someone tries to shoot me, and we go in this gunfight, and he's wearing gym shorts.
So now we've started getting into a little bit of VFX work, huh?
Yeah, there's a moment in this that's pretty cringy. When he gets shot in the head, the blood is bright red. And I remember the night I was working on this, Sam and Hugh came over after we shot this, and I was editing it, and they went to sleep. And I mean, this, I stayed up all night.
Oh yeah.
I edited it. I did the VFX, the music, the grading, everything in one night. And when they woke up in the morning, I was like, check it out. And they're like, what the hell? But
yeah, for those of you that don't know, Jesse is known to do that. He has an issue where he can't go to sleep if there's like an unfinished project, even if if it's like a feature film, then like he's not going to sleep for.
Yeah, whenever we do a feature, I'll probably not sleep for
you're
a
gonna
couple
die.
weeks in post.
You'll die. But yeah, he's very well known for staying up through the night, and
which I'm trying to get better at, because now I have a family, and so it's a little bit more difficult to pull those all-nighters. But yeah, so that was kind of like the first attempt into that. This is my first reel that I ever did. It's got a little bit of the Spider-Man stuff in there. This is a short film I did called Good Boy. Yeah, I was really proud of this reel at the time. But this was kind of another one of those attempts. The Spider-Man thing got big, and I am proud of it. I'm proud of the people that it brought my way and the people I got to meet and work with. But this was kind of an attempt to try and show people that I'm getting out of that, because I don't want to be doing the Spider-Man stuff forever. I think there's maybe that's the Fallout short. There's maybe another time, like in the future, I may do another one just for fun, because Spider-Man plays a big part in like why I wanted to do film in the first place. I watched the first Sam Raimi film. I think I was like 7 or 8, and I watched that thing like over and over, and I watched behind the scenes on it and made little gadgets and tried to replicate some of the effects they did, just not even with a camera, just in real life. And so it was a big part of like what made me want to get into filmmaking. That, and also my grandpa, when he would take us to the movies, like every weekend. And we would go see a movie, and then we would sneak into another movie, and sometimes 3 movies a night. We'd always get Wendy's after. So like there was that as well that kind of inspired me to get into filmmaking. I've just always been surrounded by movies. Like even my family in Chicago, I remember they have like a huge shelf of like a movie collection, and I'd always just be sitting there all the time, like picking out a movie to watch. And it was just
let me ask. You're 19 when the Spider-Man stuff started, but that's at the age where you should probably have a job. So did you have parents that were like just cool with you like trying to do the filmmaking thing and kind of supported you, or did you have to go get a job and you were trying to do this like on the side, or like how did it work for you as far as
money-wise?
Yeah, being able to support yourself.
Yeah, they believed in me. They definitely did. I mean, like I said, my dad bought me that camera, and then even the first camera I got when we were making videos, me, Sam, and Hugh, he didn't let me buy a camera until I researched the crap out of every camera I was looking at. I think it was like a month of research before he actually let me buy a camera. So like they believed in me, but they were also logical about you know, how life should be lived. And so, yeah, I was in high school and I was making videos, and I had to get a job. And so my first job was McDonald's.
Oh, nice! I had no idea you worked at a
It
McDonald's.
sucked, dude.
What was you doing there? Flipping burgers?
I think when I started out, I was in the drive-thru, took drive-thru orders, and then upgraded to drive-thru window, handing out the food. And then finally got to register before I decided I wanted to quit. And
Decided that wasn't the...
I tell you what, man, fast food, it's a shitty job. Like, and people get treated like really bad. Like, I remember going in, like, I'm going to treat everyone like super nice, and like, it's going to be a great experience.
And you just ended up...
Dude, like, people, I don't know what it is. When you're behind the counter, they treat you like you're garbage. And so, like, I have a lot of respect for people that work in fast food now, because I get it, even when I get frustrated, like at a fast food place, because it does happen a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Because there are a lot of people that work in fast food restaurants that shouldn't be working in general. But yeah, it was a terrible experience, but
It's just
it was so great making $7.25 an hour and having that little extra chump change to use to like my video stuff.
And so where'd you go from there? Next job?
Well, something funny. My parents wouldn't let me quit.
Yeah.
I had to get another job before I could quit, which makes sense. Like, it makes sense to have another job before you quit a job. But I couldn't find a job. And so for like the last few weeks I was there, I wasn't there. Like, I told my parents I was going to work, but I was actually going out and skating. Sometimes when I have morning shifts, my friends were still asleep. I would go and sleep in a parking lot till they woke up and we'd go skating. And it worked out for a while. And then, you know, obviously my parents went into McDonald's one day to get some food, and they're like, "Where's Jesse?" And they found out, but they didn't tell me they found out. I come home like all like in my McDonald's uniform. I was like, they're like, "How was work?" And I was like, "It was fine." And they're like, "Your uniform looks really clean. Like, usually it's kind of greasy and dirty." And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, they didn't have me in the grill, you know, so I was just at the window." And they're like,
backpedaling. God.
And they were like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "We know you haven't been working for the past few weeks." And I was like, you know, that moment when the blood rushes from your face and you're just like, crap, dude, they know. Yeah. And so anyways, I got another job, worked at Olive Garden as a busser, which I enjoyed a lot more. I was working with a buddy of mine, Connor, and that kind of a skate buddy of mine, but we went to school together and we worked there. And that's another interesting section of life, like the whole waiter, busser lifestyle. It's pretty crazy. And then we moved like 6 months later to Georgia.
So where were you living during all that?
In Oklahoma, Tulsa, Oklahoma.
So you were born and raised in Tulsa?
Born and raised in Tulsa for first 18 years of my life. And after high school, moved to Georgia. Both my parents are nurses, and they got a job at the New Cancer Treatment Center of America. And so we packed up and moved here.
Out.
It was a better...
yeah, cool. And so you also, I know, kind of do like... Well, I don't really know, but I know that you're like really handy with stuff as far as like construction and things like that go. So did you?
Yeah. So, I mean, I always kind of experimented building stuff when I was younger for films. And then when I moved to Georgia, worked with a buddy of mine and a couple other guys just to make money. Because like the freelance stuff wasn't always a sure thing. And so like in between that, I would go and work some construction type jobs, like fixing things, painting things, that kind of stuff.
So what was your first like paid, where somebody paid you to do video work?
Oh man. It was a boxing video.
Was it?
Yeah.
Really?
I did a boxing video for this guy up in Owasso in Oklahoma. And now that I think about it, it's kind of similar to what we did for Homer. Obviously not as cool looking and edited well, but yeah, that was my first job. It was like a promo video for this boxing gym.
Wow, cool.
And he loved it, which was great.
Yeah.
And
that was the moment where you were like, I can get paid for this.
I totally botched it though, dude. Like I struggle sometimes like learning. as far as like my weaknesses. I did that promo for him. He loved it. And then he started hiring me on regularly to film the boxing events, make DVDs and stuff. And it went well for a few months. And then I stopped showing up sometimes. And I was young, but like that's no excuse. And there's a couple times like that happened in my life that I'm just like, what was I thinking? Like those were good gigs. I could just still be making money.
Yeah, just self-sabotage.
Yeah, it's very, very self-sabotage.
Yeah, I've done that
going
too.
through that phase of just like you're better than everyone else and you're the best at what you do, and that kind of plays into that kind of self-sabotaging thing. But yeah, there's a few instances like the McDonald's, the boxing gym, people that, I mean, even the job I got in Georgia, I did video work for Cancer Treatment Center. And I think that was a little bit of mix of stuff on their end and stuff on my end, because I was still young. I was 18 doing videos for them. And
I just want to bring up too, it's a good point, like you said, like it's a mind battle of like, man, I'm better than this. And I think it's important to...
Well, also not seeing your flaws. You know?
Well, I think it's important for people to know too, especially if you're coming up as a filmmaker or you're trying to make it in the freelance world, or, I mean, just coming up as a filmmaker in general. Like everyone has an idea of like what they think they're worth and what they want to be doing and the kind of content they want to shoot. But I think too that there's a fine line in like what you have to do to get to the place that you want to be. You know what I mean? And so I think that because I've battled that too, especially as a good bit older than you, and finding myself in my 30s and I'm at an event or something and I'm like, this is so stupid. Yeah. It's like, why am I doing this? But at the end of the day, it's a paycheck. Yeah. And, I think that it's just important to know that a lot of times you've got to do things that you don't want to do to get to the places where you want to be and to get to where you want to go.
Yeah, and there's different ways to go about that. Like, I think there's certain things that you shouldn't do. Like,
no, I agree.
Like working for free. I think if you're just starting out as a freelance, maybe doing a few free gigs, or I don't even know if free is good. I think obviously.
I mean, I think if you have nothing to show,
even then you should be paid for your time. But we've both done gigs for free. Sometimes, well, we both have done gigs for free,
many.
And it is a way to get your name out there and get work. But then also it can sometimes sabotage you as well later on, as far as like when you do get those new clients that are word of mouth, and maybe one of the people you did something for free told them that you did it for free, and then they're kind of lowballing you.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's definitely a fine line in like how you go about that. Mm-hmm. I'm in the boat where, like, for instance, I think it was a different story because you already had credibility and you already had like videos, you had things people could watch, even if they weren't that good, you had stuff people could see. I think if you're like a nobody and like you're just trying to get into video, I think that you got to do something, because you have no content to show. So like you're going to have to do some jobs.
Well, I think if you're going to
you got to look too at like what that job, like we've done free jobs before as well, but we also looked like at what the outcome was going to be. If we did, for instance, we did one free job. I won't bring up which job it was, but we had, we looked at if we do this free job, what could it possibly do for us? Yeah. Weighed the odds, did it, and it did very well for us.
Yeah. I think, but we were also experienced at
exactly.
what we were doing.
Yeah.
I think if I could go back, instead of spending that time doing free gigs for other people, I would have done those free gigs for myself and worked on making my craft better, putting together like little spec, whatever, commercials, films, and using that as a jumping off point to get work, versus doing it for other people. Because I do think it sometimes it helps word of mouth, but sometimes it kind of tarnishes your image. Not really your image. I don't know what the right word would be. I think working for free should be your idea, not theirs. If you feel like you're not at a place where you should be making money because you are starting out, I think that's fine. I think working for free, like if I just started out, I'm like, I don't think I should get paid for this yet, but if someone will take a chance on me, I'm just going to give them the photos, give them the video, whatever. I think that's okay. I think where it gets kind of muddy is when other people try to get free work.
Yeah.
And you compromise,
And so like one of the things that really inspires me about you is how creative you are. And I've told this to a bunch of people, hundreds of people, but it's just like one of the things I think that makes you special is the fact that you have such a creative mind. Like you're a great writer, you're a great director, you're a great editor, But I think that one of the main things that is really appealing to me and why a lot of other people want to work with you is because you have a great mind. I think that you're one of the...
That's big, Chris.
I think that you're one of the rare people in Atlanta that... I don't know how to put this into words, especially without like sounding...
Well, this is a podcast, so you have to put it into words.
That's true.
And I really want to hear it.
Well, I could do sign language because we're also videoing.
Oh, true.
Yeah, you're like, oh, now I just want to...
I just want to hear what you're going to say.
No, I think that like...
We have it on the record and everything.
There are some people who can listen to an idea or can listen to a concept and then develop it into something that's amazing. And that's happened time and time again with things that I've brought to you, ideas. You always find a way. It's like you hear something and then immediately like your brain just goes to another level on, so like that's just really cool. And I don't really know where I was going with that, but just the fact that...
well, thank you.
Well, you know...
I want to say that's just, you know, I think when I see you, you know, you've been in it for a few years now, and you're at a point where you could be shooting like a Macy's ad or something. And I look at, you know, when I was younger and I was in it for a few years and I could barely make a video. But I think what that long period of making films did for me, not really on a technical side of things, but on a creative side, I think that's where that kind of like clicking into overdrive when I hear an idea or come up with an idea is really from just my childhood of going over to my buddy's house, hey, let's make a video, and we do it in the next like hour. You know, doing that constantly. I mean, I don't remember how many videos we did, but it's probably in the hundreds. And then the skate videos, like I always wanted to make them feel like a film. I think all that just combined has really helped me to where now when I hear someone else's idea, I feel like I can bring something to the table. Or if I have my own idea, I'm able to put it in a way that's be able to understand.
Visual. Yeah,
visual.
You know, I've always been, I know you'll disagree, but I've always been super visual person as well. Even from the sense of, you know, I come from a background of painting cars and like, you know,
making it look nice.
Yeah, restorations and stuff. So or even with like house or like building or whatever, like I've always been the type to where, you know, before something was done, I could see the beauty that would be in it afterwards. Whether that's a car that was dilapidated, and I'd be like, wait till you see it, and other people around me would be like, oh, man, you shouldn't waste your time on it. And you know, then it's done, and everybody's like amazed, beautiful. Or like you build something or whatever. But then I met you, and it's like, Jesus, like you take that to such a different level of like how visual you are, because a lot of times you're trying to explain things to me and I'm like, yeah, I'm not seeing it, dude.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the car stuff and always being a visual personality. When I was growing up, I did a lot of things that weren't film related that now I see could be film related. Like I wrote my own comics. And, you know, that's basically storyboarding now for me. You know, I wrote my own stories, made my own superhero characters. That's character development. I put on like little magic shows for people. That's kind of my audience side of things, like wanting to entertain the audience and trick them and make them feel something.
Can we see a trick today?
No. I did get into a little bit more magic, like a few months ago with Brittany.
Really?
It bugged her. She thought it was so silly. And I was
now
like,
that you've got a 2-year-old.
Yeah. Well, I think it would be cool to like know some magic for my kids.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so like I always did that. And then I also did like acting and drama. You know, that's obviously more like film related. But there's things growing up that I did that now I see really benefited me in the long run when it comes to like me and my filmmaking career.
Cool.
If it is even a career yet.
Well, I mean, talk about that. I mean, right now you're 24.
24, yeah.
You're married. You have a 2-year-old, and you have one that's about to pop out any day now.
Which, yeah, by the way, Brittany went to the doctors, and she is ready to pop. Like, it could happen any
so
day.
she could call you, like, right now, and you'd be like,
yeah,
I gotta
we
roll.
could. Yeah.
I'm
telling you, remember what I said about Christmas?
I know. So anyways, you're 24. You got 2 kids.
Yeah.
And you're full-time filmmaking now, right?
Yeah.
So the last, how many years have you just been freelance filmmaking?
So I guess technically I started freelancing when I was 16. I consider that boxing video like my first freelance gig.
Exactly. But at what point did you basically have to quit working?
That's it. Yeah. 18 I started doing freelance. Luckily I got in with hospital to do videos, internal videos for them, because my parents showed them some of my work, and that was really awesome. And I wish I realized how awesome of a gig that was, because it was a regular paycheck and it was a good paycheck. But anyways, I don't do that anymore. But I would say 18 is when I really considered myself as like freelance filmmaker. Like I haven't had a real job since I was 18.
And what would you tell other people that might be watching this who are struggling and they're thinking to themselves, like, man, like, how could I ever do this full time? Like, because I've felt that way for a long time too, man. Just like, man, I'm working a regular job. I'm trying to do film stuff. Like what is the point where it's just like what advice could you give somebody that wants to become a full-time filmmaker?
I would have to say, like 90% of it is mindset. 10% of it is actual talent and pushing towards that. I think the mindset is the biggest thing, because there's a lot of times where you're not going to make money that month.
Oh yeah.
There's times where you get 4 or 5 gigs in a month and you're stressed out. So like it's and specifically the freelance world. It's a little bit different, I think, with when you have your own production company, but with freelance, it is very like you don't know where your next check is coming. And so I think the mindset really helps. Like, what can I be doing to push further and like get more jobs, but also like better myself as a filmmaker, as a creative. And so the mindset is a big thing. You know, when you're not getting jobs, like contacting people to get jobs, and then also working on your craft, like practicing different things. So that way, when you do get that next job, it's 1,000 times better than your past job.
Yeah.
And that, I think that shows like that progress. So mindset is really, I think, the biggest one. So
as far as for you, like, I know that you're a great editor. I know that you're all around great filmmaker, but what is the thing, directing, filming, cam opping, like what is the one thing that, if you were going to do the rest of your life, this is the one thing I want to do?
I want to be a writer director. I enjoy all aspects of filmmaking. I love shooting. I love editing. I even love color grading, even though it can be frustrating sometimes. But I think when it gets down to brass tacks, I want to be a writer director. More so a director. Like, I feel like I could take other people's ideas and make them something really cool and fun for people to watch. But I love taking an idea and getting it to that a film. Yeah. And I love writing. It's hard for me to sometimes sit down and write, but when I do start writing, like I get sucked into the whatever world I'm working on or crafting. So writer director is my, I don't want to say end goal, but it is my goal right now to be a writer director. And for mainly features, and like what type of writer director, like obviously the Spider-Man, so are you drawn towards like action, or are you drawn more towards like narrative drama, or I think horror? Like, what are you drawn towards as far as? Well, right now I'm really drawn towards the psychological horror drama type films. Like, that's always been like my bread and butter. Like, I love that genre. But I love action and adventure, and I love superhero films, and I love comedies when they're good. And so I think wherever there's just a good story. I will say a couple of the things I haven't been able to get on board personally is films that take place in space and Westerns. I don't really like those. Well, I had this idea for a Western. Yeah, I'm not helping you with that. Now I'm not even going to bring it up. So I will say that the new film, Netflix film, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, was pretty fun. I say I don't like Westerns, but I feel like No Country for Old Men is kind of a Western in its own right, and I love that film. I would say like timepiece Westerns. I'm not a huge fan. I don't really love super old timepiece type films. My ideas are just flying out the windows right now. Yeah, so I think wherever there's a good story, I'll gravitate towards, even if it is a Western. Like, if it's a really solid story, I would love to tell it. I got you. So I know that now, if everyone doesn't know this, me and Jesse obviously are partners together and in our own production company now, Story First Films, and I know that's a big part, and we both have the desire to grow that
into a major production company. And we're focused a little bit more on commercial work right now, but ultimately, I know I want to. I want to turn it into a production company where we're doing features and everything.
Yeah, totally.
But as far as you on a personal level, like what's your 10-year goal? Like, what's your 20-year goal as you on a personal level? Like, where do you want to be in 20 years?
I hate that question. I'm very now oriented. And
so where do you want to be in
where do I want to be
weeks?
now? No, 10 years. In 10 years, I want to be I'm already a writer director, but I want to be. That's a hard question, Chris. I hate that question because I think
you want to be a household name.
I don't really have this goal of being the next Christopher Nolan or anything. I just think I want to be in a place where I could be telling stories, making features, and making enough money to take care of my family. That's literally all I want. I could care less if a bunch of people see my films. Obviously that's a plus. That's obvious, a good goal to have as well. But I think if I'm doing what I love and able to pay the bills, I'm golden. At least for right now,
though. Oof. So you've already hit your goal.
Barely.
Barely, but you hit it. So
barely making it by.
Pushing for, I guess, I think it's, you said, you don't want to be the next Christopher Nolan. I think deep down there's always a desire to be recognized for your work.
Yeah.
Because I won't sugarcoat it. I want to be the next Roger Deakins.
Yeah. Roger Deakins. Just keep watching this.
I have 6 months to go before I get there.
I want you to be the next Chris Gray.
No, I'm just kidding. No, you're right. You're right. And that brings up a good point too, man. I think that as filmmakers, a lot of times we look at everybody else and we try to do things like everybody else. And I think that that's a good bit of advice right there in itself, is just focus on doing things
the way you tell stories.
Yeah, the way you tell stories and the way you want to do it and the way that it looks good to you.
Yeah.
I think that's what creates the Christopher Nolans and the Roger Deakins of the world.
I think the other thing, going back on the 10-year question, there's a part of me that would love to be recognized for my work. But something that the Spider-Man series opened up to me is that it doesn't feel the way you think it feels. It's weird because before I made the Spider-Man series, I wanted to go viral. I wanted to make videos that went viral, and I had videos that went viral. And it's just, you even know too with the cop video, it happens, it's cool, and then you're kind of did I just peak? Is that it? Is that where I peak in my life?
It's all downhill from here.
Yeah. It's a weird thought to think the Spider-Man thing could be my peak, and I would hate that.
Oh, there's absolutely no way that.
So I guess my 10-year, where I'd want to be in 10 years is have something new that's original that I got to write and direct and have a cool team work on that surpasses the Spider-Man thing. That would be great.
Yeah,
I think is possible.
No,
I
think that it's. I know it's possible, and I know that it's on the horizon because we've already been talking about it. Yeah. So I'm excited about the future, even for us working together. I think for me, too, a long-term goal is to bring back what you said. It's we're paying the bills right now and we're doing okay, but I think that a better way to phrase that would be I want to know that as security, I guess, that hey, totally. The next few years, the next 10 years,
well, how a real job has that security.
Exactly. I'm going to be able to put my kids in college, and So I feel you on that.
I think the other thing too, about getting recognized for a film you've done or something. I think obviously I would want that to happen as well, but more so for all the people that work on it. Because I can believe in my idea that I wrote or directed or whatnot, and if people think it's crappy, that obviously would suck. But I would want it to be good because of all the other people that worked on it too, Yeah. I want people, not only the audience to love the film, but for the people that worked on the film to be proud of it and can share it and show their friends and show their family and show people without being having anything held back, Yeah. I think that would be one of the goals as well. It's just making something that I know everyone can be proud of and be able to share and stuff.
Cool. Well, as a closer, kind of, how we've been asking everybody, what's just one tip, one piece of advice for the audience, something to leave them with this week?
I think something my dad always told me growing up when I did start doing the film thing, when I first got my camera, you want to like get all the cool gear to do what you want to do, and something you told me was basically like just do it. Like make the thing. Like make the stuff you want to make with what you have, and learn from that. And so I think if any of y'all out there listening or watching this could take anything away, is just go for it. Like I think there's a time and place for taking the time to craft a story and to do things right, but I don't think it's when you're learning. I think you just need to do things and learn and try things out and do things that suck and are unwatchable and cringy, and you will eventually get to the point where you're making things that other people enjoy watching, and a lot of them. So just Nike, just do it. Nike, if you want to sponsor us, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Leave Room for Milk podcast.
Yeah, we are currently seeking sponsors for the show. So if you know anybody that might be interested in sponsoring the show, because as of right now, we just do it because we enjoy talking to each other and talking to people. And selfishly, like I want to learn from
other people,
and so that I can get better as a filmmaker. And we can all grow together. So thanks so much for joining us this week for the Leave Room for Milk podcast, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Peace.